Hello and welcome to Thoughts of a Trillionaire. Back at it again with a new podcast, a new episode, a new thingamajigger. And it's been 6 months? It's terrible. Well, I guess I should just tell you what I've been doing all this time. I guess procrastinating, for one. I've been seriously falling behind on these good habits I'm supposed to be building, as in, creating stuff and putting stuff out there, trying to be a content creator. And in terms of writing, even daily updates on my Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, all that, I've been severely slacking, definitely on that. But what I have done is, one, I've written a book. Boom, bam, written a book, about 116 pages. Almost 30,000 words, or maybe just above 30,000 words now after editing. And it's pretty dope, I think. Got a cool cover, book cover, thanks to my brother drawing it. And now I'm just working on publishing it on Amazon, so that will be out soon. I want to say a week, give myself deadlines, a week. And then I've gotten a new job, another job working at a VR arcade, virtual reality arcade. That's freaking amazing. So it's super fun here, just pretty awesome, it's pretty dope. I'm here now shooting this podcast, so might be a bit of a echo, but I put some music on the background, so maybe it sounds cooler. And other than that, went on 2 business trips for my other job, Employtoy, startup. So got to go to 2 big conferences, one in New York and one in New Orleans. Never been to New Orleans, so that was cool, that was dope. And yeah, those are my updates, I guess. Other stuff besides that is, I'm technically homeless now. I'm living with my grandparents, but yeah, we got kicked out of our old house, do some bull crap, which I talk about more in my book. Don't really want to talk about that now, maybe later. But yeah, so that's a thing. That was definitely a big problem, and just really frustrating. Both not as bad as homelessness sounds, but at the same time not as good as, or not as, I don't know. It's just a weird thing. Definitely have to talk about that later when I talk about the idea of virtual poverty. Probably what my next book is going to be about, in terms of virtual poverty and destroying poverty. That would be pretty interesting. But yeah, I just figured I need to get back on this. There was no reason for me to have stopped doing podcasts. I kept telling myself it was because, I didn't have space. I didn't have time to do it, in regards to, I didn't have a room, or private room, or, private space where I can sequester myself off and just talk without other people interrupting or listening in, or just being annoying. And really, it's just me being, I guess, insecure or afraid, or not prioritizing myself and what I want to do. So yeah, I'm just getting back at it, getting back with it. And I think working here at this VR arcade gives me less, even though it's more work technically than what I've been doing before, it's less excuses for me, because I'm here early, usually 20 to 30 minutes early, so that's plenty of time for me to, shoot a podcast or 2, as well as even do a music video or something like that, or a dance video. So it's so less excuses for me to get stuff done. So yeah, I'm gonna get back on the ball, gonna get back podcasting, writing, dancing, and all that stuff. Cause that's what I enjoy doing. I want to say love doing, but I don't know about love. Love is a strong word. But I really enjoy doing it. It is a passion, or at least a hobby. So I'm gonna get back with it. And other than that, I guess I could keep it short and cut it off now, but I don't want to. I also want to talk about all the ideas I've been having, all the stuff I want to do in the future, whether it be with this podcast or, with my hashtag Path of a Trillionaire and stuff like that, my book and other stuff. I just want to, get out there. I want to share more of my ideas with the world, start doing things, fix my website up, make that a real proper 3D holodeck type experience, such that when people see my website, when I direct other people there, then they'll be able to really see not only what VR or rather Web 3D can do, but what I can do and what I have planned. In my other podcasts, I talk about, stuff we should be doing in the future, future-proofing our businesses, our economy, all this stuff. And this is a great time to be talking about that stuff, because right now you have stuff like blockchain and cryptocurrencies really coming out there. So it's really helping to decentralize the economy and thus the rest of the world. You have more I guess you could say alternative education systems coming out there, like Praxis is getting more popular, and Exosphere, I heard this thing called Exosphere is out there. There's a bunch of very interesting things. Podcasting is getting up, so it was a good time to get back into this. And I just want to, put my foot out there, put my foot in the door, and just take on the universe, because that's my whole plan. That's my whole ambition about. I've also started reading this book. Well, I've read a lot of books since then, but one I've really enjoyed, a new web fiction I've started and already caught up with, is called Apex Predator. Apex Predator, or Apex Predator Fringe World. It's super awesome, man. It's like all I've been looking for in terms of a good sci-fi or even space opera book. Because what really disturbed me about a lot of sci-fi books, at least recently in the modern day, the last decade or so, is that they're all dystopian. They're all talking about, what if some bad thing happens to the world and we're stuck in a post-apocalyptic or the doomsday and all that stuff. It's so stupid and annoying, It's just, I understand we humans always, fixate on the negative. That's like proof positive of it now in terms of the news cycle, where the stats and data and everything and quality of life shows that we are living in the best time to be living in so far in history, and that we have the least amount of violence as ever. And yet, people are convinced that the world is coming to an end. Why? Because they sit there and watch the news, which sits there and fixates on the negative. And so, our fiction also tends to reflect that, and being mostly dystopian. And I love science fiction, but I end up reading more fantasy because it's more optimistic most of the time, Even the dark fantasy stuff tends to be more optimistic than these dystopian, freaking annoying ass ego or rather emo type stories. It's just So, but Apex Predator starts with the idea of a 500 million year old thing. I don't want to spoil what nobody really watches this, so or listens to this, so I can spoil. But either way, it's on the premise that a 500 million year old plus thing, I guess you can say. Just they call it well, I don't want to well, what does it matter? It's a thing. It's super powerful. It's OP. It can metamorphosize into pretty much anything. And it gains power or gains, intelligence based on what it eats, So, of course, they ate a bunch of different humans throughout the ages, and it learned more about humanity. And but the story starts off with it. His name is Bath. Actually, his name is Bath. So it starts off with Bath realizing, the environmental changes going on, global warming. Of course, he was skeptical, wondering how in the world after 500 million years of being on Earth, one species or one thing is somehow speeding up this cycle of extinction on the Earth, And that's what global warming is, It's not just temperatures rising and oceans rising and all that stuff. It's literally an extinction event. That includes humans. We will go extinct if this keeps going on. And so this 500 million old species in the stories goes, being in the stories goes and tries to investigate to see what's going on. Could humans really be in charge of this? So he goes around and finds that humans are indeed, doing this, but half of them either don't believe that they are doing this, or just don't care, or rather don't feel a sense of urgency. So even this 500 million year old species has a more feeling of urgency than the humans. And what's interesting is that it makes sense why Bath, feels that urgency, because even though he will survive, where humans won't, he feels this urgency because this extinction, just like any of the others, would leave like 10 to 100,000 years, 10,000 to 100,000 years of just, desolation. So he'll be alone again. And even though he's used to it, he doesn't want to be alone again. So he goes out and becomes a human, metamorphosized into a human baby to be exact, and masquerades as such for like 10 to 15 years. And so after meeting this girl, who ends up being some type of mind reader, or not a mind reader, but more like an empath, a super empath, that's able to understand or visualize other people's emotions and control it to an extent or manipulate it. They befriend each other, and eventually they discover aliens, and they well, Bath doesn't really care. He was just going to go out and, find and just adventure through these other worlds. But the girl, Lisa, she's like, you know what? How about we take over the world? Let's do some world domination and then universe domination. So that's how the story unfolds from there. It's a lot more nuance in between it. The writer is pretty much a genius, I think. But yeah, it's pretty awesome because it doesn't start off from the sense of they're going to dominate the world negatively. No, they're going to dominate the world in terms of making it better. So Bath has all these powers, so he ends up trying to be like a super, they call him an eco-terror, or he's trying to be, I don't want to say eco-terrorist because he's not trying to terrorize people, but more so, I guess it is terrorizing people, more so pushing people into realizing the bad effects of oil and stuff like that, and, embracing change in a positive way, embracing going green and stuff like that. So, but Lisa, she's much smarter than him in terms of planning because he tends to be just brute force, do things that way. So she's like, you know what? No, we need to be more smart with this. So she says, let's create a religion where Bath is able to genetically modify people to give them powers, as well as, create these things called city seeds where they take over a building or a whole city and create, a more eco-friendly thing where you have free energy, or rather free, basically free energy, or rather renewable energy, as well as, renewable resources in terms of oxygen, instead of carbon dioxide emissions, and better use of energy, more efficient food production, and all of that stuff. So it's all around, almost utopian. And he incentivizes people by giving them power. So the more they work for, or not even work for them, even though they are implied to work for them, but the whole point of their religion is self-determination. So it's not even about, some afterlife thing. It's about the here and now, the physical of being more powerful and being more intelligent, being more enlightened. And so as people learn more about themselves and do more to, learn more about the world and themselves and all that stuff, they also can gain, more powers that Bath gives them. So people are actually given this ability to become superhumans. And so, of course, people love that stuff, And so it's all about, it's not even utopian per se, but it's just a more positive and opportunistic way of talking about science fiction. And I really appreciate that stuff. And that's exactly the kind of things that I want to do as a trillionaire in terms of research and development. Unfortunately, I don't have, super universal powers where I can change people's genetics just like that. But, we are capable of doing a bunch of research and development to help people to be almost superhuman in terms of, infusing themselves with nanites or implants where they can do more and be more self-empowering. And so, yeah, this whole story really coincides with my tone or my mood right now, as well as my plans for the future. And it's just awesome. All around awesome. But thanks for listening to my rambling right now. And stay tuned for the next episode of Path of a Trillionaire. Thank you.